Stu Myrick, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, The Horn, here in the palatial world headquarters in beautiful Austin, Texas, as we get ready for our taping, the first taping of December, as we've turned the page on the calendar to the final month of 2020. And I know I probably speak for everybody when we say couldn't come soon enough. And believe me, as much as I love Christmas, I got to admit, I think I'm ready for this year to end. And let's get to a better 2021. Hopefully one that sees us come out of this COVID-19 pandemic. And hopefully by this time next year, we will have gotten back to live events in front of crowds. What we used to know. So, anyway, tonight's going to be, I'll be honest, it's getting repetitive to talk about WWE and what's been happening on SmackDown and Raw. And while there are some good things happening, like the whole Roman Reigns thing, but even that is starting to get a little too heavy. It's a little too soap opera-ish. I mean, we've always compared wrestling to a male soap opera, but it's getting there. They don't respect me. Their eyes don't show fear. They don't. It's like okay, it's like calm down, chill out, Francis. It just, I don't know. And then there's just little things here and there. Like the one that caught my eye last night on Raw. So you've got Jeff Hardy taking on Elias in a, quote, Symphony of Destruction match, which, basically you can use the instruments. Now, either I missed the part about it being a Falls Count Anywhere match as well, or they decided to change that midstream, because you had action in the ring, and Hardy, I think he hit a senton on Elias and goes for a cover, but he's near the ropes, so you get a rope break at 2. But then they counted, at the end where Hardy comes off the top turnbuckle onto Elias on the table, and Hardy looks like he hits his head on the ring steps even. They counted the pinfall outside the ring, which, again, I didn't know it was a Falls Count Anywhere type of deal. I knew it was Symphony of Destruction, but when did that become a deal? So, it's things like that just kind of make you scratch your head. And again, the whole thing about faces heels. And I got to call out AEW Dynamite for this. I got to call out AEW because last week you had your main event, 2 heel factions. You got Pac and the Lucha Brothers, who are supposed to be heels. Granted, heels you may cheer for because you like, and I like the Lucha Brothers, going up against, what was it, Bunny Blade and Eddie Kingston. So, again, 2 heel factions. Well, okay. Who am I supposed to cheer for? Or is it just a matter of whatever? I don't get it. I did have to chuckle at Xavier Woods because we had yet another chapter after we've seen the New Day beat Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin from the Hurt Business twice, including defended their tag team titles successfully. Well, apparently we're not ready to let this go because he had Xavier Woods taking on, I think it was Cedric Alexander, and Cedric gets the pin. And So New Day comes out, does their thing, which always fun, and then here comes Hurt Business, and you hear Xavier Woods exclaim, "Do we not have any other tag teams?" Which, man, that is that's been the narrative, though. There are no. Look at the tag teams saying in Raw, on Raw and SmackDown. NXT's got more tag teams than both Raw and SmackDown combined. Because you got New Day, Raw champs, Street Profits, SmackDown champs. You've got Ziggler and Rude, sure. You've got, I guess, Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin on Raw. And then Lucha House Party, I guess. I don't know. And here comes Mr. Simmons. Wow, you're a little early. That's good. It's good to see you, bud. Nice Ireland sweatshirt.
Early?
A little earlier than what I'm used to, but hey, that's okay. I like it. I'm good with that.
Oh.
What?
I didn't want to kill my gimmick all on one night.
What do you mean? What gimmick?
What do you mean, what gimmick?
I don't know why. Dude, I'm a radio guy. I don't have any gimmicks. What gimmick are you talking about?
That is your gimmick.
That's my gimmick as radio guy?
Yeah.
Well, you're a radio guy.
That's not my
you're
gimmick.
you're a play-by-play guy.
But my gimmick for this specific show, like you have a gimmick.
Yeah, I'm the host of Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
But
I
you
guess
haven't-
that's one of my many roles. I'm also the sideline reporter for Lake Travis Cavaliers football, which we'll see next week, I guess. First round of the playoffs. I don't know against who. We haven't seen yet.
But you still have a gimmick that you haven't even touched on yet.
Which is?
You wear a wrestling shirt every week.
Well, yeah, of course, because it's wrestling.
Yeah, but that's like your gimmick.
So your gimmick is you wear soccer gear.
No, my gimmick is that I always show up late.
Oh, okay.
Because the best gimmicks are the ones that are part of your natural persona extended to 11.
Well, I'm glad. Don't extend it to 11, please. No. I mean, 5 minutes late. That's good. Keep it at that. 4. You can even go 4 to 6. Just that's good. It's a good to see you. How you doing? How was Thanksgiving?
Oh man, it's okay. It's not as great as it could be.
Right.
Obviously,
with everything going on.
But
Did you get?
Oh, and that's my other gimmick too. Is that I always use a pen. I can bring my own. I have before in the past.
That's why I have them there, though, so that you can use.
I know, but it's like Jim Cornette with the tennis racket,
Yeah,
and
but
then not using the tennis racket.
Yeah, but you're not using the pen to beat somebody with.
No, but if I don't use the pen at all, then then why have the gimmick?
Sure.
This is all about psychology that I know we're going to talk about later on.
Sure. Okay. I'm sure.
You don't see this show on like that super meta level.
No.
That's how
it's a radio show about
see
wrestling.
It as a radio show. I see it as a show about a radio show that talks about wrestling.
No, we are not WWE.
Yes,
We can book a hell of a lot better than WWE does.
Exactly.
For instance, I was just mentioning this. So did you saw Raw last night? Did you not? Or at least some of it?
Parts of it.
Okay. The Jeff Hardy Elias match, the Symphony of Destruction. And maybe I missed it. Did they say anywhere in there they became a Falls Count Anywhere match?
I don't recall them saying that it
Okay.
wasn't, but I didn't recall them saying that it was.
Okay, so that's the thing
So there's that gray area.
because they changed in mid-course because you had Jeff Hardy covering Elias, but it was cut short because of a rope break. Falls Count Anywhere, you don't have rope breaks.
Yes, and this is not just like a one-time thing. I mean, this has happened even at WrestleMania before in main events. So the consistency in the rules, like that's always an odd one because the rope break is such a necessary tool of psychology. Here we go back again. See, told you we're going to get into this, right?
Yeah.
Such a necessary tool to the psychology of a match to draw in the drama and the interest, right? And that everybody's always expecting that one kick out, and if they can't kick out, usually the rope break is what does it. So
Right.
to take and you can tell that all wrestlers are accustomed to kind of running a match a certain way, with that being a tool in the arsenal to help build that drama. So when you take it out of the playbook, it's kind of hard to, when you start going into autopilot, to remember like, oh yeah, that's right, can't break out. And that's where you have a good referee. If you have a good referee that's on top of the game, they can tell you, hey, it's no call. There's no break.
They can't go for the count.
Yeah.
If it's a fouls count anywhere. Now, like I said, it seemed to me that maybe they changed that midstream,
and they could have.
And see, that's the thing that makes me think of our good friend Alex Morosos, who's a fantastic referee around the area, works a lot of the different independent promotions, and he preaches, I mean, vehemently about there are rules. And you follow those rules, no matter what the storyline in the ring between the wrestlers, whatever. The ref is still supposed to be the ref. You adhere to the rules, and you stick to those. We saw it last week on Raw with the New Day and Hurt Business.
Yeah,
they did a count out, and it looked like it appeared to me there wasn't supposed to be a count out there, but give credit to John Cone. He went forward with the count out, whether it wasn't supposed to happen or not, because the wrestlers weren't back in the ring. So he did the double count out. Then they had to restart the match.
Well, at least they restarted the match, right?
Right.
So at least it made sense,
right,
logically.
A little bit. I mean, it was still convoluted, but it wasn't John Cone's fault.
No,
John Cone did what he's supposed to do.
And that's the thing. That's why the refs are sometimes so underrated. It's like,
yes.
If you have a good ref, those little things where, if you're looking at it as a serious contest, yes, I understand. Like, hey, how come this happened? And then
right.
It's just like.
But even if it's not a serious contest, for the sake of believability,
yes.
The ref is not supposed to be in on the gimmick. I guess let's use the word gimmick. We've used gimmick a lot. Is not supposed to be in on the gimmick. The ref is supposed to be the ref. Whatever shenanigans are going to happen between the combatants, the referee is still supposed to call it like it is an actual, combat sports event. So,
yeah, but. That would constitute having to watch it as like a combat sports event.
Not necessarily.
I
just hold on to the things like 5 count to get out of the corner, no eye gouge, no closed fists, things like that.
Nobody enforces no closed fists.
I know, and that's where
I'm saying
you still warn them. You still warn them, and you'll see the refs do that, or the good ones do. But things like that, the traditional quote rules of wrestling that we've all known,
but they can't. You can't apply those rules of the traditional style of wrestling. Doesn't exist.
Well, okay, talk to Alex, because he says that even now there are still traditional rules. Now they may play into the storyline, but you're still supposed to acknowledge them at least, as a referee.
Well, like I agree that the rules exist. It's just that the rules have changed over time.
Such as?
That,
give me an example.
The 5 count actually, the 5 count's never been a 5 count. You have a 5 count, but there's no real disqualification after that, because we've already seen people break that rule many times.
And that's usually up to referee discretion, or if it's called for in the storyline.
And then we've
usually you get the 5 count, and then they try to just pull them out of or you're pulling or a choke, you're choking, you get the 5 count.
Yeah, you get the 5 count still, but I mean, like, we all know that you don't have to break at the 5. Like, you're supposed to, but nobody ever is. If they're a good deal.
But the referee is supposed to still do the 5 count.
You want them to enforce that.
And whatever the count is for being outside the ring, whether it's some places it's 10, some places it's 20. Well, like Inspire was always 20.
But if we're going by old school logic, and the referee is going 5, 6,
And it's you
7.
talking about. Oh yeah, when the 2 wrestlers are down.
Yeah, no, to the outside.
Oh, outside. Okay, and I think it's usually a 10 count.
Yes.
Some places it's 20, but
okay, but look,
most places
but
it's a 10
either
count.
way, if you're going by super old school logic, if
Yeah.
somebody goes, like I'm on 7, right?
Yeah.
Somebody goes 3 out in the crowd or something like that. I'm supposed to go 3.
Right.
4.
And then again, we're not talking
5.
about. We know.
So where do you want to draw the line?
And I get that. Again, there are certain things but that's not that's being influenced by whether wrestler rolls in the ring and rolls back out, or say one wrestler's outside the ring, and count, and the other wrestler that's in the ring goes to the ropes. That usually breaks the count.
Yes, but this is simply if both wrestlers are outside of the ring, and if the spot is going too fast and somebody like in the crowd yells out a random number that is lower than the actual count, the referee is supposed to get lost and then revert back to the lower count in order to give
I'll have
them
to
more
check
time.
with Alex on this one, because that's one I've never heard.
That's what I was taught.
Really?
Yep.
Oh. And
that's why I'm saying that's why
some storylines could use that.
No, but that's why I'm saying it's a super old school thing. So I'm like, how far back do we want to go, and where do we want to draw the line to where it doesn't make sense and to where it does make sense? Because that's something that you would have seen enforced during the territory days.
Yeah. There's other things like, a pinfall. You count the pinfall whether it was supposed to happen or not. If you don't see him kick out, you count the 3.
Yes.
As simple as that. So
we really are more of a wrestling YouTube show with a radio show in between, because I think,
we're a radio show that goes on YouTube.
But I think in order for us to be even bigger, it's going to have to be opposite, because I think we get really good stuff here.
Well, that's part of the fun of doing the YouTube show live and in living colors. That sounds so redundant.
Well, it could be
anyway.
black and white if you want to make it all. Is there like some sort of Sting Crow filter or something?
I don't know if we do. I don't know if we get a black and white filter on the thing or not. But so anyway, there outside of the usual reviews of what's been going on, it was starting to get repetitious, and I was like, I'm bored with that. I want to take a little bit of a break. So we're gonna talk in the second segment. We're gonna preview NXT TakeOver War Games, which is this Sunday. But in the first segment, to set that up, we're gonna talk War Games, the history, the stuff that we remember. Me seeing the first War Games on TV with the Horsemen and Dusty and Nikita and the Road Warriors, and seeing Precious Paul Ellering get in the ring as well, and he was jacked, like crazy. When they would do the 5-on-5, it would be Precious Paul getting in.
Oh yeah,
for the good guys, and of course J.J. Dillon, who was an accomplished pro wrestler before he became a manager. Adding his worth to the Horsemen. So, which I did some of that. I did some of that research on on J.J. Dillon when I met him at Cauliflower Alley Club 2 years ago, and Ray, still one of my favorite interviews. He was just really easy to talk to.
I mean, he's just a consummate pro.
He is. He's fantastic. I saw a YouTube clip from, I think it was Georgia Championship Wrestling, of now again, the beauty of the territory days, long before the days of the internet. James J. Dillon managing David Von Erich.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah,
when he would make his little trips through Georgia.
Yeah. Well, there were the territories where the Von Erichs were heels.
Yeah.
Just not in Texas. Can't do it in Texas. Anywhere else, just not in Texas. I think David and Kevin were heels in Missouri.
Which
I want to say, sense. I think Kevin was Missouri heavyweight champion at one time. It was either Kevin or David. I know I think David was.
I'm pretty sure David was, but I mean that wouldn't surprise me though. Kevin was also, because I know he holds a championship somewhere in his career lineage.
Oh yeah, outside of Texas.
Yes, outside of Texas. But I was like, obviously, if they went to Georgia, they would be the bad guys, especially if Bad Street and
with
Freebirds
Freebirds
are there.
Exactly. You just flip the script, So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll talk NXT War Games and just a few little nuggets. So, did you get to eat any good food for Thanksgiving?
I mean, some turkey, but it's still, it's not the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to see family or
no? I mean, I
did.
But
Oh,
it's
you
not,
did.
But it's not like my mom or my dad.
Oh yeah, because they're all the way. Yeah, I have there's a I've been friends with this person forever and ever and ever, and they are practically family. So we got together, just a small gathering, just 4 of us.
Nice.
And I roasted a turkey, which turned out really well. I was very, very pleased. Also made some mashed potatoes, and we had the traditional, dressing and, green bean casserole and rolls and pumpkin pie. Or excuse me, I had pecan pie. There was pumpkin pie, but I had pecan because I'll eat pecan pie all day, any day. And watch the Cowboys, just absolutely.
Didn't even watch.
That was awful.
Made my day a lot better, honestly.
At least it just started out bad.
You know what it was? It's because I had to be in Houston Saturday.
That's right.
I had boxing I had to cover.
That's right.
So
I saw the pictures. Congratulations on the gig.
Oh yeah, no.
Look sharp. How'd that go?
Oh, I think it went well. I mean,
good.
Big thanks to the people up at Next Fight Up.
Right.
For the gig.
Big boxing card this weekend in Arlington.
Yeah.
With Spence and Garcia.
I know. Wish I could go to that one. I don't think I'll have a chance to. But no, I won't even get to go to Canelo. Canelo's like in 2 weeks.
Oh, is he?
At the Alamo Dome.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I was going to say,
right.
When do you get to see the best fighter in the world,
Mm-hmm. Without going to Vegas or somewhere.
Exactly. And it's like so close to Austin. It's like, but the tickets were so expensive. It's just like, you really shouldn't be going out to places. But I'm like, okay, best fighter of his generation, or at least best fighter at the moment right now.
As long as they do it safely.
The most popular fighter, at least.
As long as they do it safely, and I'm pretty, Alamo Dome's big enough.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like $80 for the nosebleeds.
Oh yeah, it's boxing.
Like, I know, but I'm just like, I mean, for a nosebleed ticket, I was like, I might as well just watch it at home.
No kidding. So, and I'm sure the Fight Night guys will talk about Spence and Garcia. So, well, let's get going, and we'll talk a little War Games. Here we go.
Hey, this is WWE Hall of Famer from the Legion of Doom, Road Warrior Animal, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. What a rush.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. We have survived Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah, no food coma.
No food coma. I finished off the last of the Thanksgiving leftovers last night. They were still good, but I'm kind of glad I finished them off.
I was gonna say you were stretching it, man.
Yeah, well, I had like a 15-pound turkey, and there was only 4 of us to eat it, so got a little misty-eyed there on the animal.
Yeah,
it's been
me too.
I guess now it's been 4 months, 5 months since we lost him.
Yeah, 2020 has been a difficult year, especially for people like in pop culture, people that are like legends like him, Van Halen, and then obviously from the world of soccer, Diego Armando Maradona.
Right,
So
lost him last week.
if you're watching on YouTube, rest in peace. And to my people in Argentina, may God be with you, because I know everybody's hurting over there, and I weep with the people of Argentina too, because that one is like, ooh, that one really struck hard.
Yeah, I bet you.
But same thing with hearing.
Well, and then we just heard, kind of bring it down a local level. The head coach at Liberty Hill, losing his battle with cancer.
Man, that's tough too, because nobody even knew really.
Yeah.
I guess like the people closest to him did, but it was like a real shock also. So you hate to see that, because that affects like a whole community.
It does. And Liberty Hill's one of the best teams in the state right now. I think they're ranked number 7 in 5A Division II, 8-0. They're getting ready to head to the playoffs. So now they're, I'm sure the playoffs will be dedicated to their late head coach. So, this week it's got bored with the whole reviewing Raw and SmackDown and everything, and we don't do too much AEW, since by the time you hear this on the horn, you will have seen AEW Dynamite. So we won't talk. Although the setup to Omega and Moxley has been fantastic. That's just that, whatever happens, whatever has happened by the time you hear this on the horn, it will have been, I'm sure it'll been really good.
I'm pretty sure and this is what everybody wants to see. They finally given the fans the tag team match that they wanted to see between the Bucks and the
FTR.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now finally we're getting that second coming of the Cleaner and the whole setup for him to possibly become the top of the mountain, so to speak, of AEW, and basically take his rightful place to where he was 3-4 years ago as the best worker on the planet.
It was more recent, probably 2 years ago.
When was the Wrestle Kingdom match? It had to be like
well, maybe been 3 years ago.
Yeah, because I think at that point you could easily say, like, if it wasn't Okada, it definitely was Omega who was the best.
Well, of course they had that, those series of matches. Each one would go longer and better than the other. So,
interesting question, real fast though.
Okay.
Before we get into this retrospective, when we talk about best worker in WWE, everybody would always default to Daniel Bryan.
Right.
Now he's still on the roster, but is it safe to say that the best worker right now is probably AJ Styles?
Oh man, it's let's be honest. It's like talking about the best running back or best position player in football or any other sport. I think it is a little subjective. I would definitely say AJ Styles is in the conversation.
But people start to age out, and Bryan was on the shelf for so long, and
True.
He hasn't. I mean, even though he had a fantastic WWE, well, it wasn't fantastic, but I thought it was a really great character work on his last title run.
Yes.
And he could still go in between the ropes, but AJ is probably the most versatile right now, who can do it at the best pace, who can work with anybody without any limitations.
Right. Now, granted, he's getting a little older too.
Which is true. And he'll eventually age out. But right now, I think he's the best that they have on their roster.
I'm trying to think of who else.
Because the next guy up apparently would be Adam Cole, baby.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I could see Roddy Strong. I could see Sami Zayn.
Zayn, yes, I think he's fantastic. He's so good.
He's got to be in there. For that matter, Kevin Owens.
Yes.
For the style he does.
But I think AJ is still the most consistent. As long as Zayn can stay healthy, then he might be able to get there. As long as they give him more character work besides Swarmy Chicken Hill.
That's the thing. They've got to give him more. But
he's good at what he does.
It's kind of like I heard an argument earlier about Ricochet. As good as Ricochet is in the ring, he's been watered down so much in WWE. Talking about the Wrestle Kingdom match, it wasn't that long ago when he and Will Ospreay, wowed the entire world in their G1 Classic match a few years ago.
That one's difficult because you already knew that Ricochet going in was going to have to adapt to the WWE style.
Right?
They weren't going. It's like a longtime head coach that has been an institution for 40+ years. They're never going to have to change a thing because they've already won the state championships. You have to adapt to what they're running.
Exactly.
And so far he's done. Obviously, he still has the athleticism. He still does amazing things. He just creative. Has failed to find a vessel to which would help him be successful, and maybe he could still use some promo work.
Yeah, I would say his best promo by far was the one we saw Monday night. I guess he did it on Twitter in response to the Retribution kids.
Yeah.
But
that needs to get on TV, and if he can consistently
they showed it on TV. They just got to do that more.
Yes. So as long as he can consistently move at that level when it comes to his delivery, and they're supposed to make you feel.
Right.
And it's like, while he can tell the story in between the ring, we all know in WWE it's like a two-phase thing. It's like in-ring work plus promos.
In-ring work.
And they're graded like 75-25.
Right. I would say other places in-ring work probably weighs a little heavier.
Yeah.
WWE, no. It's equal with character, promos, whatever.
Yeah,
so.
Because let's face it, everywhere else, everybody's a wrestler.
Yeah.
But in WWE, you are a character.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so as we mentioned, War Games, NXT TakeOver War Games is this Sunday. Before we get to that, we'll talk about that this next segment. Justin, you came up with this idea, and you want to talk about kind of the history and the retrospective of War Games, the concept of War Games. This was a concept that was created by Dusty Rhodes back in the Jim Crockett days.
Yeah, and that's how I kind of wanted to set this up. Because, see, you've seen War Games. You've seen most of them.
I've seen
the original.
Most of the original ones, yeah.
I wasn't around for that. So I only know it looking back at what already had happened and trying to figure out exactly why it was such a big deal. And because War Games was coming up, kind of looked up some of that information. But I was wanting your firsthand experience, obviously, and helping kind of tell the story and seeing if people will agree or disagree with us, or maybe share their thoughts with us on our social media handles, because we tape this, but if you're watching on YouTube Live, you can always hit us up in the comment section.
Yes. And by the way, just so you know, those of you listening on the Horn or on the podcast, we do a live YouTube show every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Central. So check it out on our YouTube channel.
You get all the info that we can't fit in on the 45-minute show.
You get all the stuff that happens in between.
Most of it comedic gold.
Yes, yes. So, and I was doing some. I looked this up. It surprised me, first of all, that it didn't happen till July of 87. I thought he had been earlier than that, but no, the first one was in 87.
It's because it comes up from Dusty Rhodes, and his mind is the guy that kind of sets the stage for Jim Crockett Promotion kind of becoming the big deal, right?
He was the booker. He was the booker, creative, the main creative force.
Came up with the name Starrcade and War Games.
Right.
And the Great American Bash.
In fact, so War Games became part of the Great American Bash. Great American Bash.
So they took it on tour.
It was a tour.
Okay.
So it was a tour. I remember it being, it was a wrestling, it was, Jim Crockett Promotions would take its show on tour. It was mainly the southeastern states, but they would sometimes venture to Chicago or somewhere else. I remember there was 1 year they would pair it up with a country music act. I think David Allan Coe was a frequent.
That makes sense.
That was a frequent concert, like post event concert, and so they had this concept. It was because it was the age old rivalry, Dusty versus the Horseman.
Now this is a story that had been told before, but they really needed something special. Right, because what was going on between Dusty and the Horseman? Like, you could never get a clean wrestling match, right?
Right, because when you face one Horseman, you usually face them all.
Okay.
This was after Dusty and Nikita had teamed up as the Superpowers.
Okay, so
Nikita Koloff had turned babyface. That was at the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Tag Team Cup. They won the first one in
Yes.
'85.
And
So
this is all before the end of the Cold War, right? So
this is
it's still kind of like really like, whoa, he's a babyface now?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to like set the stage for people that might be listening that don't understand
Right.
like how big of a deal a lot of these concepts were because it was the first time ever.
Well, I'll tell you.
Now,
Here's the participants in the first.
But before we get into that, may I add
Yeah.
that Dusty came up with this concept by going to go see Mad Max
Yes.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Absolutely.
And he thought this would be the perfect concept to kind of keep the horsemen, in line so
Yes.
he can have a fair match.
You always had cage matches. We'd had cage matches forever and ever and ever.
And those were usually be the blow-offs,
Normal,
right?
yeah. In normal cage, it was usually a blow-off match to a feud, and it was what you see today in the cage with 4 walls, no top. The cage was fastened to the side of the ring, and that was it. Well, so he decided to take this and expand it.
Yeah, he
So
wanted a spectacle.
So he got 2 rings, put them together, and then caged it off, and then put a roof on it.
First time ever this has ever been done, right?
This is
Before
again,
Hell in a Cell.
This predates Hell in a Cell, by the way. Now it didn't extend out beyond the ring like Hell in a Cell does, but it was a little bit taller and it had a roof. And what you had was they would do it was a simple coin flip as to who would do the advantage. What you had usually 5-on-5. The first match was
these are the rules of war games,
Right.
Because you had to like for the first time concept, you really have to be amazed by the way that they were able to, and it's not easy to follow along at first, how they were able to put this together and then make it a yearly concept that people actually liked.
And by the way, this wasn't like there wasn't live weekly television to do this.
Yes.
All TV in WWF, NWA, AWA, they would tape 3-4 weeks of TV in one sitting and then show it
all in advance.
So they were pumping this up for weeks. And these matches were not seen. This wasn't like on a pay-per-view or something.
No, you had to go to the Omni.
Yeah, you had to go to whether it was the Omni or you went to the
The first one's in the Omni, isn't it?
I believe it was it was here. I'll go back to it. Okay, first one was in the Omni. They also did the Orange Bowl in Miami, now Hard Rock Stadium, and the UIC Pavilion in Chicago. The first match, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, Precious Paul Ellering, Dusty Rhodes, and Nikita Koloff, facing off against the Four Horsemen, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, and James J. Dillon.
All right, so this one has Sexy Lexi.
Yes.
Still has Tully, and JJ's going to get a part of it because Precious Paul going to be a part of it as well.
You had to have 5-on-5.
Now, I wish we had set this up so we could have a watch along for the people on YouTube too, because the big thing for me about this match is how they were able to tell the story in the first few minutes, because it starts off with Dusty going against Arn, and he ends up showing the crowd because there's a low blow somewhere in there, and he opens him up real quick and starts grating his face across the fencing, like, hey, this is a no holds bar. Essentially, there's no rules.
Talking about Arn grading Dusty.
No,
Or his
Dusty.
flip-flop.
Yeah, Dusty grades
Okay,
Arn
okay.
because he's bleeding. Dusty gave him a low blow and
Yes.
everything, and this shows the crowd and it shows the viewer, like, hey, these are how the rules are going to work.
Yes.
There is no pinfall. There is no way to win until everybody's in the ring.
Right.
And that's what confused me as a kid. Like, how
Right.
does this work? Now
So
I understand.
It was touted as War Games and the match beyond.
Yes.
So the War Games portion was where you had each team you would start 1-on-1, and then a coin flip would determine who gets the man advantage. It was almost always the Horseman because you had to again it fit
Good
the story.
dramatics.
All right. So every 2 minutes, the next man would come in. So then you'd have 2 horsemen on Dusty.
2 faces.
And then you'd have two faces, 2 horsemen, and then so on and so forth, until all 5 participants are in the ring. And until then, the match does not end. It cannot end because you can't do pinfall submission or anything like that. You can someone could have put somebody in a figure 4 for 10 minutes.
And you would see that.
Yeah, and there's no break.
Yeah.
Because, again, not everybody's in. Once all 10 participants are in the ring, then starts, quote, the match beyond. And basically it's a cage match, no holds barred. You just go.
I loved how Dusty would grab onto the one, and you see it, over the years, but he grabbed the top and gave him that little double foot stomp, and it was like, oh, okay, so, you're utilizing every piece of this ring. There's no way out until this match is over. A true blow-off to a blow-off.
Yeah, you don't see people coming out of the cage. It stayed in the cage. So you don't see, what you saw in Hell in a Cell with Undertaker and Mick Foley walking up on top of the Hell in a Cell structure. Everybody stayed in those 2 rings, and it was just 2 rings. You didn't even have, so like in the NXT version, they have the runner that's in between the rings.
Yeah.
You don't have that in these old ones. It was just 2 rings pushed together, and you tried to pay attention to where you were stepping.
And that's something I wanted to touch on because I know you've seen more of these style of matches than I ever will have seen, but back then, the rules were pretty hard fast. Now, the times of entrance would change, but the ending to this match had to take place in the match beyond after all 10 participants, the teams of 5, were in the ring, right? And it could only end originally by submission, right? Or
no, pinfall too.
No, there was no pinfall. Originally,
it originally was submission. Yes, I think you're right. Yes,
it was only submission, and I think something else like knockout, something crazy.
Submit, surrender, or knockout. Yes.
And then later on down the line, they start to add the pinfall.
Right.
How do you feel about the pinfall being part of the match as opposed to just a submission? Because it just makes it kind of seem like, oh, you can still win, but I mean, a true end of a beef sounds more finite when you end it the other way.
I think I was mixed about it, to be honest. I could see why, but yeah, it did take away a tiny bit from the, for lack of a better term, the violence factor of the match.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was made for, though.
But, and again, these were made as blow-off. This feud carried on for years and years and years.
Well, they made good money, so they couldn't. But let me ask you this. Besides those original matches, were there any others that stood out through your time that you probably really enjoyed that maybe people need to check out? I know Sting was involved in a few War Game matches. I know even Hogan was in the War Game match.
Sting was actually involved. So he was involved. Let's see, and I've got a listing here. It was July 88 when Sting became involved. It was Dusty, Sting, Lex Luger, Nikita Koloff, and Paul Ellering taking on the Horsemen. Man. Barry Windham had now replaced Lex Luger.
Man, what a team, though. What teams, both of those.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about the star talent
so that was after
there.
Lex Luger got kicked out of the Horsemen. Barry Windham joins the Horsemen. You also had, let me see, Dusty, Sting, Lex, and Steve Dr. Death Williams taking on the Horsemen.
Seems like this is like a Horseman specialty style match, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. The Horsemen.
Perfect. Well, that's what it was set for.
But they never won. Because again, you had to get you wanted the baby faces to win. So
it's supposed to be the blow off. Yeah.
So as far as I know, the Horsemen, and I'm going through the whole thing. The Horsemen finally get a victory. Let's see, they were not in it in '89. It was '91. It was Ric Flair, Barry Windham, Sid Vicious, and Larry Zbyszko defeating Sting, Brian Pillman, and the Steiner Brothers.
Wow, that's some odd pairings.
That was in WCW, Wrestle War in Baltimore, Maryland.
Crazy.
You also had, you had guys like the Midnight Express were apparently a part of. Midnight Express teamed up with the Road Warriors to defeat the Fabulous Freebirds, Jimmy Garvin, Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, and the Samoan SWAT team.
Wow.
Samu Fatu.
It's really crazy who's actually participated in
that was
at
a house show in Atlanta, Georgia. You've got so many. Here you go. Here's one. Sting, Ron Simmons, Tom Zink, the Z-Man, and Robert Gibson.
Wow. Okay.
Defeating Nikita Koloff, One Man Gang, the Diamond Stud, and Richard Morton, a.k.a. Ricky Morton.
Yeah. So, was that when he was part of, what's it called?
I believe that was when he was with what was it? It was
Something Incorporated.
It was Dangerous Alliance, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that what it is? I know he goes like kind of like
because that was Terry Runnels.
Yeah, it was with Terry
that
Runnels.
Was the kind of the she played some deal. You had Sting, El Gigante.
Oh man,
AKA Giant Gonzalez, Barry Windham, and something called the Yellow Dog, and I'll have to look this up. Defeating Cactus Jack, Kevin Sullivan, One Man Gang, and Arn Anderson. That was in August of '91.
So, how do you feel about the way that NXT does War Games now that they're bringing back the name and that they're going to have 2 rings,
right?
But they have it with no top of the cage because that's kind of like Hell in the Cell.
Well, and
it's kind of like Elimination Chamber.
Well, that's the thing. So, if you watch some of the early WCW War Games, there was a limitation because the top of the cage didn't go that far up.
Oh yeah, because you couldn't have big moves.
Yeah, it was very limiting on top rope moves. I mean, in fact, I remember seeing Sting crawl up to the top, and he's like hunched over.
Yeah,
having to jump off.
Yeah, I remember that, and that's where he's like kind of like just doing like going across the cage,
right,
on the top, and he's kind of so strong that he's able to hang on to the top like that.
So NXT will be their 4th edition. Last year was the first year they did a women's match and a men's match. It's fine. I had a problem the first year they did it. They did 3 teams of 3. I thought that was too confusing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
They fixed it eventually, and I think they're now back to it's two teams of 4, which I think that's perfect.
That's fine.
And admittedly, it's hard to keep up with everything once everybody's in there.
That was kind of the appeal to War Games originally. It's just that it's like pure chaos.
It is.
And, before the days of, wrestling was always perceived as violent, right? But not the way that we've seen the Attitude Era, ECW, things like that.
Right.
Like, this is mundane in comparison now.
By the way, our good friend, our honorary third co-host, our AEW correspondent, Dustin Rhodes, the Natural, he was a part of 3 of them. In 92 and 92, 93, 94, he teamed up with Sting, Nikita Koloff, and Ricky Steamboat and Barry Windham to defeat the Dangerous Alliance, which was Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, Steve Austin, Larry Zbyszko, and Rick Rude.
But there's all those guys are like Hall of Fame worthy.
Oh God, yes.
That's so crazy.
Then let's see. That was okay. So that was. Let me make sure. That was May 1992 at Wrestle War. September 93 at Fall Brawl, WCW Fall Brawl. Sting, Davey Boy Smith, Dustin Rhodes, and the Shockmaster taking on Sid Vicious.
That's right.
Sid Vicious, Vader, and Harlem Heat.
That's right. They were in one too.
And then September 94 Fall Brawl, the Nasty Boys and Dustin and Dusty Rhodes taking on Terry Funk, Arn Anderson, Bunkhouse Buck, and Robert Parker.
Colonel Parker.
Oh,
that's right.
Who now
that's
runs the stud stable with
yes.
our good friends, the Dirty Blondes.
Yes, that's right. He was in that match.
You mentioned Hulk Hogan. Hogan was part of several. He had the Hulkamaniacs: Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Lex Luger, and Sting, who defeated the Dungeon of Doom. Kamala, the Zodiac, which was Brutus Beefcake, the Shark, and Ming.
Earthquake.
Yeah, Ming, Haku, father to the Gorillas of Destiny. He was also part of it as a member of NWO, where they defeated Lex Luger, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Sting. Talk about a combo.
Yeah.
It was Hogan, Hall, Nash, and NWO Sting. That was 96. That was the night where Sting. So leading up to that, you had you kept seeing Sting with the NWO.
Oh, fake Sting.
But but it was the fake Sting, and then Sting, the real Sting, finally comes out, tears everybody out, and then proclaims, "Look, you guys didn't trust me, so now I'm on my own. I'm not aligning myself with anybody."
Yeah, he gets betrayed somewhere before that, and that's like where he stopped dyeing his hair, so it was already
let it
dark.
grow out.
Yeah,
let it grow out.
He's still painting his face and stuff, but you notice that he started wearing. I mean, he always had dark trunks in his repertoire.
Yeah,
but he started focusing more like on black with bright colors, and
it was
like, the
some
black
purple.
was the blade.
Yeah,
but the black was the base, so you could tell that something was amiss, and that's what I was talking about before I got here was the whole gimmick thing. It's just like the little touches of the story changing. I love those aspects. And that's when pro wrestling to me is amazing, is when they can recall the history like that and bring it back like 2 or possibly 6 to 8 months later.
Yeah, I do. We went really long on this segment, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will get to this year's version of NXT War Games and let you know who we got as our picks. That's coming up next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. We went almost 28 minutes.
But it was really good.
It was good. And we'll continue. Let's continue on YouTube as far as the history. There was NWO was part of. Let's see. That was 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess 4. You had 1 year, it was NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack, which was just silly.
It wasn't bad at first. If you sometimes I feel like it's been so long, but if you really go back and just kind of watch a few of those Nitros during that time period, it was still decent enough to watch. It was still entertaining.
Yeah.
They still had big stars, even though the faction had split. But yeah, when down the road a little bit further, then it got real. It's just too much.
There have been other promotions that would use that concept. Combat Zone Wrestling used it. ECW used it. They call it Ultimate Jeopardy. Major League Wrestling. Yeah. I was there for War Chamber, where it was Contra Unit versus Filthy Tom Lawler, Ross and Marshall Von Erich, and was it Low-Key? And Kevin was there.
Now, how did they have their setup for that?
It was similar, no top, and they had weapons
on the
attached
rings, right?
attached to the cage.
Okay. How many rings did they have though? Did it have 1 or 2? I don't recall.
It was one.
It was just
one ring. Yeah, it was one ring, and they called it the War Chamber. It was still the every 2 minutes,
somebody in.
Yeah.
So you have the 1 on 2,
and that was when they had somebody, a Contra Unit soldier. It was just some guy dressed in black who tried to scale Kevin pulls it down, puts the Iron Claw, and you would have thought you were in the Sportatorium in the 80s. The place exploded.
Talking about the 80s though, and you go back, because I watched part of this original War Games match just for today. Man, that crowd. Oh, man. I've heard some loud pops, and I've heard some crazy crowds, but that one had to be one of the loudest. I kid you not, one of the loudest crowds I've ever heard for any wrestling.
They were hot.
They were hot for that. They were fully bought in. They were immersed in the story.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and that's what's sad though. I don't know if you could ever have that ever again.
You can't, because it just there's too much.
But we had Austin in Rock, and I went back and watched those matches recently, like the WrestleMania 18 match. That's Austin's final match, and then the X7 match where he turns. And I mean, man, those crowds are just focused on everything.
Part of the problem is you don't have the stars.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Part of course, everything, curtain's been pulled back so much.
But even then, it's like, we saw all the documentaries and stuff. They already had videos of the past of Steve Austin when he was in the prime. that didn't really kill the emotion because wrestling was just such a hot product because they really focused on the more
That's
of the
true.
reality trash
Yes.
portion of the television market.
And that's true. They did.
But I'm wondering what they're failing to capture now because it's like you have the best athletes you've ever had.
But
like,
you don't have stars. You don't have a Rock or Stone Cold or even a faction like the Horsemen, or as good as the Undisputed Era are, they're not the Horsemen.
Yeah, I know they're not the Horsemen. I mean, unfortunately, the only one that's like Horseman worthy is like Cole.
And you don't have that, and you don't have that strong baby face to go against them.
But even then, like even in like a Rock Austin situation, you just don't have anybody that's like cool tweener, except for maybe what Roman Reigns might become here. And I think when the crowds come back, I think you see them cheering him.
I think you may be right, and I was mentioning before you got here about, look, I like the Roman Reigns thing and everything, but it's starting to become a little, to me, again, this is personal. I'm too much, and I may be too much of a fun-loving guy. It's starting to feel a little too soap opera-y. You know, we always call wrestling the male soap opera.
Yeah.
But it's starting to get into that General Hospital, Days of Our Lives.
But see, this is when I think that's when WWE does
And
its best work.
And a lot of people love it. A lot of people. I'm kind of like going, I laugh at it actually because it's just.
That's why.
You make them respect me. I don't see respect in their eyes. Well, I'm going like, really?
Yes, but part of it is the nonsense.
Lighten up, Francis.
But like that's what they needed. Everybody had been saying for years he needed to turn heel, so people are gonna,
they're getting what they want.
Yes, and people are going to cheer him when people come back
because that's what they do until they get bored and then they'll boo him.
And I think that's going to be their star. Because other than that, I mean, I like this Bray Wyatt Alexa Bliss thing.
It's
lot.
Interesting.
But he's not like it doesn't translate to the in-ring portion because they never let him win.
Well. Part of the problem is he's too much of a character.
Maybe.
You forget it's Bray Wyatt. You forget that he actually can wrestle. And they don't really let him much. Not to mention Randy Orton, while as technically sound as there is about as interesting as dry toast.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's just like, if you were going to create a wrestler, it's going to, like a perfect creative wrestler, it's going to look like Randy Orton.
Yes. But just won't sound like him.
It probably wouldn't. But I mean, he does a good enough job for the promos work and stuff. And that's why
he does what he's supposed to do.
And that's why he's been a champion. I mean, he's a solid hand. He's great. But I know he's not that upper echelon star like even John Cena.
Right.
And they're missing something like that. And unfortunately, I really don't see anybody in the pipeline right now that could.
And again, that's part of what is plaguing WWE right now.
But at the same token, I kind of feel like, and I think you probably already said this, is sometimes they do that to themselves.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's just the way they book them.
Yeah, but it's like, the little changes. Like when they made... Now, granted, the music thing was something that was out of their hands because of royalties or whatever. But like the gear change for Keith, I know he's still not happy with the top. It's like if it doesn't fit his personal character and if he's not digging it, then why make him wear it?
See, I know, but again, that's because Vinny says so. Because Vince says so.
But yeah,
that's the thing. That's part of the problem. It's if you believe the rumor innuendo about. For instance, SmackDown last Friday night wasn't finalized until they were like less than an hour away from going on air.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's like, how can you invest on something if it's going to get ripped up and changed at the last minute?
Because
and it leads to those inconsistencies. It leads to the weird booking. Like we've seen, we saw Cedric Alexander take on Xavier Woods.
Oh, I didn't understand the whole so happy celebration. Like, is he out of the Hurt Business now?
I don't know. That's there's just so much.
But I guess that makes you tune in next week.
There shouldn't have been that match to begin with because the New Day just beat them.
Yeah.
Twice.
Well, I mean,
in title defenses.
They do have a limited roster.
Well, that's why I laughed when you heard Xavier Woods actually exclaim, are there any other tag teams?
Yeah.
And good Lord, is that not true?
But that's good, though. They acknowledge
there
that.
are no. He does.
But, I mean, they had to clear that for him to say it.
I got a feeling that was just because he wasn't like holding a mic. He was like, it just happened. The mic caught it in an empty arena because the crowd noise that we hear is only piped in on the TV feed. It's not piped in in the actual arena.
I know, but just for him to even say that, like,
I know.
I think
But that's and that's the big problem. There are no tag teams, and again, we've preached it before. WWE doesn't they don't care about tag team wrestling, and that's part of the dichotomy when we watch, say, WWE versus AEW. AEW, they got tag teams for days. They're putting everybody in tag teams.
Yes, but I finally understand like what the WWE meant by doing this, and it's like you rarely have star tag teams. You rarely get the Midnights or a Rock and Roll
Express or the Road Warriors, or I'll even say Demolition, even though they were Road Warrior copycats. Demolition was Edge and Christian.
Yeah, but I mean those guys aren't
the Hardys.
Even then, those guys aren't John Cena or The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it's because those
Midnights and Rock and Rolls main evented a few cards.
Yeah, but I mean, they weren't like a global phenomenon.
But you don't have to have them as main event. Just make it a viable tag team division. That's all we're asking. We're not asking for them to take John Cena's place or Roman Reigns' place or whatever.
But like they were already having a problem creating stars. I don't think you get it by focusing on the tag team division. So I understand where they're getting at in that retrospect. It's just that they don't follow through the other part.
They don't.
And make you a new star. And like, how difficult is it to make a wrestling star? I guess it's the question, because it's like when wrestling's not out of the mainstream, when wrestling's not part of the mainstream, even Bret Hart was doing television shows.
Yeah.
And he wasn't exactly like the most over house drawing champion.
No.
Him and Shawn didn't draw a whole lot of money because business wasn't great at that time. But Bret had a lot of crossover. He was in an episode of The Simpsons.
Yep.
He was on Lonesome Dove. He had a couple of music videos. He did Aladdin. He was on Good Morning America.
He was part owner of a hockey team.
Yeah, I mean the team still bears his name, so it's like that guy, pretty big star, at least overseas and other parts of the world. But I mean, maybe Sheamus or Becky Lynch are big stars in their home country, but Lynch might be the closest they have. Sasha Banks has a lot of crossover appeal because she was in The Mandalorian.
She's been in recent episode of Mandalorian.
But did you hear that part where she got casted not because of her WWE work, but because she was on Spicy Wings or Hot Wings or Hot Ones?
Hey, you know what? Yeah, and that's
a problem.
Yeah, it's not because of what she's doing in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, because of WWE, she was on that show. Granted, but that's what I think. You think that the WWE is scared of making a new Rock?
Yes, because they don't want. I've always heard that Vince is afraid of making another Rock because that person will become bigger than the business again. That's what happened with Rock, with Stone Cold, with Hogan.
Yeah, but that's good because they come back.
Even
Batista's
everybody
come back.
And
Batista's been in movies.
He wants everybody to think WWE. He doesn't want people to think Batista or.
Man, that's what they need.
He wants the brand to be number one.
I'm like, can they create a superstar on par with Batista? If they can create one of those, then they'd be fine. I mean, and that's why. And you wonder why they keep Brock Lesnar around. This is exactly why, because he's like the last true star that they can advertise with, because he has the legitimacy.
True, I get that, but there's gonna come a day, and I've been saying this. There's gonna come a day when Brock isn't around.
Oh yeah.
Or Brock decides, I got enough money. I'm gonna stay in Canada and chop wood.
Well, more importantly, there's going to become a day where there's no more Goldberg.
Yeah, same thing.
And there's no Brock, and there's no more Undertaker.
And that was a big part of WWE's problem in recent months. They leaned way too much on nostalgia.
Yeah, because I'm like, all those guys aren't going to be coming back. for the most part.
Well, if you believe what we saw, yeah, Undertaker's done. He's going to be Mark Calloway with his beautiful wife Michelle, his kids down in Spanish Oaks,
even
in
if
Southwest Austin.
Even if he comes back, I don't think you see him come back as the Undertaker. I think you see him come back as like some sort of remnants of the two characters combined. If he decides to step back in the ring again.
If we saw it, we would see the version we saw in the Boneyard match.
Yeah, so it's not like a
AJ.
true Undertaker, like that whole.
Which
character.
he finally explained the whole unholy trinity.
Yeah,
that's what he meant. It was Undertaker, badass Undertaker, and Mark Calloway.
Yeah,
that's the trinity. He explained that on the One More Round Broken Skull sessions.
I think he'll still make one more appearance at some point.
Because Vince will beg and he can't say no to Vince.
Well, I mean, the money's going to help.
And there'll probably be a whole big bag of money.
And I'm sure after he lays off for a couple of years, he'll get the itch again, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It always happens.
It won't be... we'll see it. It may be...
And he'll get a chance to heal up a little bit more. Now he'll get to, like, fully relax, knowing he doesn't have to put his body through anything.
Don't have to worry about WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We think.
Unless he decides to show up randomly. I think he needs to show up when the crowds do appear as the Undertaker at least one more time.
I hope. Well, and I think that the first time that he will show up at a WWE event where there are fans in attendance will be when he's inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that makes sense. I can see that too.
Whenever
right. That is.
Yeah. Let's hit second segment. We'll preview NXT's version of War Games.
Shock the system.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Adam Cole, baby. And you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the horn. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons. So let's take a look at the 2020 edition of NXT TakeOver War Games happening this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on the WWE Network, coming to you from the Capitol Wrestling Center. Even that sounds old school. I do like that name.
I like it when they do that.
Also known as the WWE Performance Center there in Orlando. But that sounds so much better.
May I ask, this is their last pay-per-view of the year, right, for NXT?
For NXT, yes.
And then there is
you still got
TLC.
You still got TLC coming up because now we have Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles.
Which I want to see,
for
though.
the WWE Championship.
I do want to see
Absolutely. So the NXT TakeOver War Games card looks like this. In a strap match, Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis in the rivalry that will never end.
For real. But a strap match is an interesting choice. You don't always get to see it.
A little surprising. You would see it in a WWE type ring, so why not?
You think Lumis is going to win though? Because I mean Grimes.
I got a feeling Grimes will find some way to.
You think so?
Squirrel his way out.
I think this match is made for Loomis to really show off his sadistic side.
Right. It leads you to believe Loomis will win.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That's what I would say.
In a triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship, the champion Leon Ruff,
the luckiest guy on earth,
who by the way got engaged to his girlfriend. Congratulations.
Yes, WWE official.
I think she's
NXT.
a ref in NXT. Yeah. Leon Ruff will defend against Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest.
Poor Leon Ruff, right?
And yet, why do I have the feeling Leon Ruff is going to come out of this with the title?
You would like him to. It's a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see that social media post where he posted the picture with his dad holding onto his belt? I mean, like, how can you not like this guy?
You want the guy to succeed. Absolutely.
You said that the WWE during the break has a problem, making a true baby face.
Yes.
And this is as baby face as it gets.
Yeah. it's the kid out of nowhere.
And it would be good for the holiday time for him to hold on to the strap.
I would love to see Leon Ruff hold on to it, but I'm gonna go Priest. I don't think Gargano needs the belt right now.
Nah, Gargano doesn't need it, but I think Ruff retains. because it's just like I don't think
I'd
they're
love to
done
see that.
telling the story, and I think he'll have to have a one-on-one with Gargano down the line, so
Yes.
Gargano can get his groove back, so to speak.
Right. All right, so now we go to the women's War Game match. Now, remember, we are taping this on a Tuesday, so we have not seen this week's NXT. We do not know who the fourth member of Team Blackheart will be, but Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and TBA. Now, if you believe the rumor innuendo, the rumor has it, again, this is rumor, don't take it, for gospel. Fourth member will be Io Shirai, the NXT Women's Champion.
No, for real, that would be a strong team.
That would be cool. The opponents will be Candice LeRae, Toni Storm, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez.
I keep on forgetting that they have Toni Storm on their roster because she
and-
was just a standout right when she got signed.
And they made a big deal about her turning heel, and I'm going, I thought she was already heel. But
that was my same sentiment.
okay, sure. But who you got?
This match is all made for Blackheart and her little tank.
I want to say Blackheart.
And
I
because
don't
they have
know.
Moon, how can you, and she's come back with this new look and stuff, and she's still over. So as long as she stays healthy, I think this would be a nice way to catapult those ladies into a big time, like bigger upper middle to the main event style card for 2021.
Yeah, and then men's War Game match, Undisputed Era, which includes Adam Cole. Along with Broderick Strong, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, taking on, I don't know what they call. I think they call themselves the Kings of NXT. Pat McAfee, a damn kicker. Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, Larkin and Burch, of course, the NXT Tag Team Champions.
I mean, man, that's a heavy hitting team though, going against Undisputed Era.
Let's see. We've seen Undisputed Era. Let's see this if I can find the list again. Undisputed Era has been in 1, 2. They've been in 3 so far. They're 1 and 2.
Yeah, because I'm like, I could see them losing this one too, but at the same token, I feel like this match is made perfectly for them.
I'm gonna lean Undisputed Era because this will start the ball rolling towards
TakeOver.
Either the different individuals battling each other or something like that.
Oh, where you can start telling other stories in between this. So maybe a tag team chase, maybe for Fish and O'Reilly.
Right. They beat so give their record. They beat Sanity, which was Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, Killian Dane. Good Lord. And the Authors of Pain. I was going to say, wow. Let's see. Who is Killian Dane's the only one left.
The only one on the roster still.
Well, Alexander Wolf, I think, is in NXT UK. So they won that one. That was the first NXT TakeOver War Games. Last year they lost to Pete Dunne, Ricochet, and the War Raiders. Now Viking Raiders. Or that was 2018, excuse me. And then last year they got beat by Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominic Dijakovic, and Kevin Owens. Remember, Kevin Owens made a one-time.
That was like the all-star star-studded
That
team.
was, oh my God, that was fun.
So I guess maybe they're due for this win anyways.
Like I said, they're 1 and 2 so far, so might as well get them to 500. So.
Yeah, before they break up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they'll break up this year, but you feel that it's coming soon,
you
right?
gotta imagine. Well, or they might decide they're going to stay in NXT and still be undisputed. Who knows?
I think Adam Cole would be a great addition to the main roster. Is it sad
yeah,
that
but
I'm
I'm
still
not
saying main
sure.
roster?
No, but it's a matter of does he want to go to the main roster?
I think if he wants to make the big money, he's going to have to.
But
because he'd be even more popular. He'd be like the next AJ Styles.
Would he?
Yeah, that's the type of talent
you
this
think
guy has.
you think that would translate?
Yes.
We've seen some other guys that we thought would, and
he's got a lot of that Shawn Michaels ability. I think the crowd would learn to love him eventually, and I think you're seeing it with guys like Riddle. I mean, naturally people start to just gravitate towards those style of workers.
I guess. Anyway, that's NXT TakeOver War Games this Sunday on the WWE Network. Again, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central from the Capital Wrestling Center. I suspect there will be a pre-show think they usually do like a half hour prior, but anyway, check that out. NXT War Games this year.
Looks like a good card though.
Yeah,
all the way through.
Yeah, should be a great card. Yeah, NXT always does great with the takeovers. Also this Sunday, WWE presents their 18th annual tribute to the troops. Now it's a little weird because it's going to be on Fox.
Yeah,
but it depends on what part of the country you're in because, and I'm not going to even try to explain the scheduling, but basically Fox does not have the NFL doubleheader this weekend. CBS does. So Fox has just the regional games. So if your regional game is in the 1 p.m. Eastern window, noon Central window, then WWE Tribute to the Troops will be after it. If you have the late game, the 4 p.m. Eastern or 4:20 p.m. Eastern,
3:25
p.m. Central, then it will air before, and I think it'll air at like 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox. So the one thing they touted is that country music artist Hardy will perform. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I can't say that.
I'm going to have to ask Eric Rains from Coke FM.
I was going to say, all right, is he popular with the troops?
Maybe he is. Maybe, I don't know. I have never heard of him, but hey, apparently he's popular. I'll ask Eric Rains. He knows. Anyway, that's WWE Tribute to the Troops this Sunday on Fox, somewhere around the NFL game. So we're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we will finish up with a little New Japan Pro Wrestling news and a little Ring of Honor news. That's coming up on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Okay, so it's 9:50. Yeah, I've never heard of. They haven't announced any matches, and of course we know this has been taped. I suspect in the Thunderdome. So we'll see. What did I say? 9:15. So I got basically, let's see, excuse me, 36. Excuse me, 37. 37 and a half, so that's 7 and a half. So we gotta go 7 and a half. We can fit this last one in 7.5 minutes. We'll be good.
I think it's possible.
There's not much. And like I said, I'm not about to try to do football on the Horn this weekend just because the only thing we got are the Longhorns, and everybody's opting out. So heck, I may opt out.
What does that mean?
So we've had the story. Yeah, okay, forgive us, a little bit of football talk. So we've had both Caden Stearns and Sam Cosme both decide they're going to opt out the rest of the season, and they're clearing for the NFL draft.
Oh,
they're both juniors, so they're opting out the rest of this season. They're foregoing their senior season.
Yeah,
they're going to go in the NFL draft. That comes after Iowa State beat Texas, just like they did last year. Of course, now.
Yeah, there's nowhere
Tom
to go.
Herman is on his seat is really hot.
Urban Meyer's wife is probably here looking for a house. That's what they were saying already.
Hey, Chip Brown, let us know. Do we have any real estate contacts?
That's what they said.
Hey, that's what they said about Nick Saban. So I'm still the camp that Urban Meyer would not be a fit here. But
probably
I may
not,
be in the minority.
But people just want to win now, so it probably doesn't matter.
And the Cowboys game, it was supposed to be Thursday night. It's now been moved to next Tuesday because of the Ravens having problems with COVID-19. It's a mess. So
hey, at least they'll have a quarterback, right?
This is true. Unlike the Denver Broncos, who had to bring up a practice squad wide receiver who had played quarterback in college to be their starting quarterback this past weekend.
So, when you hear stories like this coming from what is arguably, I don't think even arguably, I think it's easy to say the most popular league in the United States.
Oh, easily.
You look at this, and then you look at pro wrestling, and while they might have had a couple of COVID outbreaks, it hasn't been anything that has stopped the show necessarily. Like, none of the main people on the rosters have gotten COVID.
Right. Now, there are individuals we have not seen in a while for one reason or another.
True. But for the most part, I mean, you have to really give AEW, WWE, like, ROH, a lot of credit for Impact for how they've been able to conduct their business and not let it affect and not have it affect their big storylines, because you see it affecting NFL teams.
I mean, we've heard from Dustin, we've seen it from Sammy Guevara about all the tests, all the protocols that they go through. AEW does. Of course, they stay right there in Jacksonville at Daly's Place. Ring of Honor has had a bubble for their tapings. Same with Impact Wrestling. Same with MLW.
Jeez,
which is on now. I think, in fact, I recognize the place. That's the nightclub in Queens where I went to see them WrestleMania
originally.
weekend for Battle Riot 2. I got to look at my press pass. It was Battle Riot 2. That's why I got to see Dan Severn.
But you should have saw like what I saw on Saturday for that boxing match. I mean, they had tables. Everybody had to be seated at a table. But then, like, after every match, they had one of those mist sanitizers.
Yes.
And, like, you know, it took about 5 to 10 minutes, but they had to do every stuff. And I was just like, that's really cool. But I'm just like, wow, that's what it's come to, you know, to even try to have an event.
Yeah, leagues have had to just got word this morning that Lewis Hamilton has tested positive. So he's going to miss the second Bahrain F1 race as well as the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Now, he's already clinched the world championship, but
can you imagine if he was like in the hunt for a championship and then lose out because of that?
Yeah, if this had happened 2-3 weeks prior, man.
Yeah, so I mean, and you're still going to see some football teams probably miss playoff spots because of COVID.
Yeah.
There's already been forfeits.
Yeah.
So
we're going to see it.
You're going to see more.
Speaking of F1, did you see, I don't know if you saw it, did you see the crash of Romain Grosjean from Sunday morning?
Mm-mm.
Good Lord. That was so they're in Bahrain. It's a night race. They got everything lit up. They start. It was on lap 1, and they're heading into turn 3. And for some reason, Romain Grosjean drives with Haas F1, comes all the way across and hits one of the barriers, splits the car in half, and it blows up.
Wow. And he survives?
He survived. He walked. He got out. Wow. Now, he's climbing through flames.
Yeah, but he got out.
But he was able to get out with just burns on his hands and his ankles.
That's very lucky. I thought he was going to get split in half or something with the rest of the car.
Well, they said that the Halo device that they wear, which is it's kind of like the Hans device in NASCAR, the Halo device saved him, because if you see it, so his cockpit is like wedged into the barrier. If he had not had that Halo device, that would have been his head.
Yeah, it would have went right.
Man.
It's like I'm all for like the fast speed and stuff. I'm glad that they made the sport a lot safer.
Yes.
But
oh yeah, absolutely.
But you know, have you ever seen anybody attempt the Isles of Man? The TT, the Time Trials?
Oh, I've heard of
You know, the most dangerous race in the world because it's conducted like right on the Isles of Man, and it's on a regular road, and it's real windy, and people die all the time competing in it. I'm just like, I always wonder what drives somebody to pursue such a thing.
I've been to all the U.S. Grand Prix. I've been to the Le Mans races at Circuit of the Americas. I've seen them run in rain. Saw one car. They're heading down, about to take turn 11 to hit the back straightaway, and instead the car just kind of hydroplaned into the gravel and luckily just bumped. And these aren't Formula One cars. These are, whether it's the LTE limited or whatever, but still, you just see those things, and then to see what Romain Grosjean went through, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, the dangers in pro wrestling. We've seen guys get their heads split open with different moves and such.
Shoot, we've seen Matt Hardy get his head split open 3 or 4 times this year alone.
Well, that was the kind of the ironic thing. Saw Matt Hardy hit his head after that spot with Sammy Guevara, and then Jeff Hardy, he does that swanton off the top, hits Elias, and looked like his head hit the ring steps.
I'm like, man, that's somebody that I thought would have changed his style a little bit more over time, but no, it's still the Daredevil. Still,
I think that's that's his. He can't imbibe on anything else.
So. I mean, that's his claim to fame. That's his gimmick.
This is true.
This is why we all have gimmicks.
That's right. Got to have the gimmick. All right, let's wrap this
Like
thing
you wear
up.
glasses.
I wear glasses so I can see. Let's wrap this thing up.
This is EC3, and you are listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons. That's the third EC3 rejoin I've had to make.
Because
he keeps changing his music.
Well, he keeps on moving to different companies, too.
Well, I think he used the same music for Impact and Ring of Honor.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay.
It's basically his music.
Still can't believe that he's in Ring of Honor, though.
I know.
But I'm glad to see that he's wrestling somewhere and he's like near the top of the card.
And he's doing what he wants to do.
Yes.
That includes December 18th. So I think we mentioned last week, Ring of Honor. They are going to return to pay-per-view with Final Battle, which is the last live pay-per-view they did before the pandemic, was Final Battle last year.
Yeah.
And they have announced in a grudge match, EC3 will face Jay Briscoe. Good God, that's going to be violent.
I'm interested to see how violent this one is.
I want to see that one. Well, we may have to see if we can get EC3 on. Talk about that. That's going to be something to behold. But anyway, EC3 taking on Jay Briscoe at Ring of Honor's Final Battle on December 18th. I think Brody King may be challenging Roosh for the Ring of Honor World title.
I keep on forgetting about that Brody King is like kind of risen up the card up there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I love Roosh, and I think he's so good. He's very talented. So I can see him holding on to the title until next year.
Could be. Speaking of Brody King, New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW Strong this Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on NJPW World. He will be part of a 10-man elimination tag team match. It will be Brody King, David Finlay, Juice Robinson, Finn Juice, Carl Fredericks, and ACH, Austin's own ACH, taking on the Bullet Club, Kenta, Jay White, Hikulea, and the Gorillas of Destiny, Tamatonga and Tongaloa, friends of the show.
Ooh.
That should be fun.
Yeah, I would say things look like it's in Bullet Club's favor.
By the way, how much would you love to find out that it was Kenta that Kenny Omega got to jump John Moxley?
That's awesome.
That would be sweet. Because remember, Kenta he's got the contract for the IWGP United States Heavyweight title match.
That's right.
And Moxley is still the champion.
It would make perfect.
Now, if there has been word that John Moxley won't be going to Wrestle Kingdom, I don't know.
Ooh.
But I've heard a rumor that says. So I wonder if they strip the title from him and.
I don't know, man. That's tough because, I mean, Wrestle Kingdom is such a big deal. It's like...
Well, you know how much he wanted to do last year's.
I know, that's why. So I'm just like, really? I was like...
And last year's, that was him and Lance Archer.
Yeah.
In the Texas Street Fight. Texas Death Match.
Yeah, which was fine. But, I mean, this would be him against Kenta. With Kenta really something to prove, I would love to see it.
Absolutely.
But we'll see if it happens.
The rest of the card, Alex Zane taking on Blake Christian. That comes straight out of GCW. And Alex Zane has I think he doesn't have too many independent dates left before he joins whoever he's joining.
Yeah, I was like, he's signed, right?
I would assume it's WWE. And then the DKC taking on Sterling Regal. So, again, that's NJPW Strong. They're calling it the Road to Detonation, I think it's called. Anyway, that's Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on NJPW World. Our good friend Kevin Kelly and his crew will be calling that action. Meanwhile, in Japan, you got the World Tag League and Best Super Juniors. They will finish up this weekend. You got Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano in the lead with 10 points in the World Tag League. And then you got 6 teams at 8. And they said, I think half of the field is still viable to win the whole thing.
Okay, see, good booking. That means that you still have to watch till the very end because everybody's still in it.
That's right. As far as best Super Juniors go, Hiromu Takahashi and Taiji Ishimori, tied at 10 points each, and then 3 wrestlers at 8 points. Again, those will wrap up, I believe, on Sunday. So we're going to have all sorts of wrestling going on Sunday between War Games, Tribute to Troops, and then the finals of both World Tag League and Best Super Juniors.
Yeah, see, that's the beauty of pro wrestling. There's still something going on no matter what, pretty much.
And you can see them on NJPW World. You'll see it with Japanese commentary live, and then I think a day or two later, you'll see the English commentary dubbed in with Kevin Kelly in that group. So, pretty good weekend of wrestling, I will say that. I know AAPW's got a show coming up on Saturday night, so if you get a chance, if COVID lets you, go out to the AAPW Arena, check that out.
Well, I was going to say that's going to be like one of the last shows you'll probably see.
Sabotage Wrestling, they were supposed to have an event. They've canceled their event because
Heavy
of
Metal
COVID. Canceled. Heavy
Metal
Wrestling.
I mean, everybody's taking their precautions, and if this last show is going to go on, this might be one of the last shows you'll see for a little while. Just saying.
And check their social media because they may have to cancel as well because of things are getting bad around here. But check that, and we hope that things will get better soon so that we can go see some live events.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll do it for this week's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. You can follow Justin the Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we're proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day on the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns and your radio home in Austin for the Dallas Cowboys. We are The Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Central on The Horn, or catch us anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com and click on the On Air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. For Justin, I'm Stu. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time tonight. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night. Bang!
And that's how it's done.
See?
And I think we got it 7:28.
Yes. Perfect. See, that's why I'm saying I think we're more now a YouTube show that does a radio show.
I'd say we're just getting there.
I think our YouTube show.
I will always be a radio guy.
Yeah, but I think our YouTube show is more viable than our radio show.
Well, we'll try.
I think
Eric Burns at least will tune in for us. I think he's tuned in tonight. Yep, he's there.
Thank you.
Hello, Eric.
And I think we can get more, but yeah, I really think it's more like that because I think most of our good stuff comes off of it.
Well, you have a face for TV, as has been proven. I have a face for radio, so
Well, I mean, you have a gimmick. You got a beard and glasses. That's your thing. But you can never shave.
Okay, not everything is a gimmick.
Yes, it is.
No.
If that's your
this
thing,
is real life. This is me, real life. This is
so you.
I look the same if I'm on the sidelines at Cavalier Stadium, or if I'm in a press box somewhere.
Well, yeah,
which I hope we go to a press box soon.
That's why it's the gimmick. You can't just leave it at home. The best gimmicks are the ones that are extensions of yourself. So you're like Ric Flair. You just live your gimmick. I get it.
Yeah, except I'm not going to get on a plane and be in nothing but my robe and dress shoes.
Well, no, not in these days and ages. No, you couldn't get away with it.
I'm not going to get on a plane anytime soon anyway.
Yeah, I refuse to fly unless I'm getting something really, really good or I'm going somewhere really, really nice and I can really afford it.
Yeah,
and that's not happening anytime soon.
Still waiting to hear about the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to sweat it if I don't get approved, and I'm kind of thinking I won't.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be a super no.
There's not going to be much going on anyway. Parties have been canceled.
It's like, come to our socially distanced drinking party.
Yeah, it's like
come and smoke a cigar, but don't share a cigar with anybody.
Yeah, it can't be there. We're not going to have. I don't think the Cigars with the Stars are going to happen. I know Lee Steinberg's party's not going to happen.
I don't think you would want people smoking and then
And
blowing your face during a respiratory illness thing.
And I don't know how Radio Row would work.
Lots of plexiglass.
Good Lord.
and hazmat suits.
Yes.
For people to walk in.
No, thank you. So I'll it's Tampa, so I'm not really that worried about seeing Tampa.
I mean, you're gonna miss out.
I do want to go next year to Los Angeles.
Well, you would have ran into the Dirty Blondes.
True.
That's their area.
True. Would have seen them.
And the food's good.
Food's always good in Tampa.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, honestly, it is always good.
The media party, Super Bowl media parties always has good food and good booze.
For as strange as Florida is, for all the Florida man moments, I mean, it really is a pretty good state, though.
It is.
I mean, it has a lot of nice points.
Had fun in Miami last year.
Oh, it's impossible not to have fun in Miami.
Little Havana there, and that lucha themed bar there after the game with a bunch of friends, and us drinking till like 2 a.m. and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, overall, like I said, there just wasn't a lot of
Well, it's the end of the year.
Yeah, it's end of the year. We'll see it ramp up next month because of Royal Rumble. Oh, and by the way, WWE will be moving their Thunderdome to Tropicana Field in Tampa. Speaking of Tampa Bay, home of the Tampa Rays, they'll be there for the next few minutes. So there's talk that they want to explore the possibility of having fans for the Royal Rumble at Tropicana Field.
I mean, if they can space it out enough to do it, I mean, more power to them. If it's going to be safe to do it is another story.
Well, that's the thing. It's it's kind of like what we're seeing with the NFL, and not every NFL team has fans in the stands.
I don't understand.
But some do.
Like, have people not understand, even you people out there, have you not understood that life is not going to go back to the same way it was before? Like, it's hard to
fathom.
This is another 9/11 style moment. Like, there is going to be a permanent change to how we conduct a day-to-day business or how we go about our day-to-day lives because of this. And you have to remember, this isn't going to be the first time that we're going to deal with these type of viruses that we don't have any cure for or anything like that. There's going to be more.
Oh, absolutely.
At some point in time.
There will be. I mean, now hopefully we will learn enough from this pandemic to know how to handle future pandemics.
Yes.
Because remember, something like this hasn't happened in anybody's lifetime.
Unless you lived through the Spanish flu, right?
Yeah, but that was turn of the century. That was turn of the 20th century.
There's still some people that are still alive.
Yeah,
they're just really old now.
They were babies at the time. So
yeah, well, they survived it.
But 90% of the Earth's population was not alive during the Spanish flu. So
no, but I mean, it's like
you didn't have all the stuff that we have now.
No, but it was the closest pandemic that you can think of, that you can fathom. Like, if we saw all those pictures in color, it wouldn't look so surreal.
Yeah, and that's part of it. That's part of it. So
it's just like chickenpox, man. I'm like, there is a vaccine for chickenpox, but
it
used to be just like, hey, everybody got it.
Everybody gets it, and then once you get over it, you're immune.
But I mean, now if somebody got it, I mean, that's just like crazy. It's like, oh wow, somebody got.
Well, it's flu.
It's fatal for adults.
That's what, and it is, but it's also flu. The reason why they tout getting a flu shot every year is because the virus each year seems to be there's a different variant or a different strain, so that's why you have to get the flu shot every year. So
I have to admit, though, I think the one positive out of all of this is that for the most part, the people that are taking this seriously, or even the ones that probably weren't, at least are washing their hands more often. And like these little changes of just like your overall daily grooming.
You're more in tune. Yeah, more in tune to that type of thing.
Because I'm definitely a face toucher, but it's like, now that this is a thing, like I definitely try not to like poke my nose. I definitely try not to like use like the digits of my fingers to like rub my eyes and stuff. I definitely try not to stick my hands in my mouth unless I have cleaned my hands first to eat anything. And, you know, maybe I used to be more lax. You know, you work on the car, grab the sandwich with your dirty hand and just eat it. Not a big deal, you know? That's just manly stuff. But now I'm just like, yo, take the extra 20 seconds. It's all good.
Well, and that was the thing. So, beginning of football season, Sam Ellinger, the Texas quarterback, would talk about he had to stop licking his fingers because he always licked his fingers before he gets the ball. So, anyway.
But I mean, like, you know, it's just adjustments. We're all going to have to make them.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for indulging with our War Games retrospective. Enjoy War Games this Sunday. We will be back next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Central on YouTube. But until then, for Justin, I'm Stu. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you later.